Almost Terran's DBZ is quite good. Generally the even though it's pretty balanced, generally the slight favoritism goes like T greater than Z greater than P greater than T. Yeah, I got that right. So, let me put good old fantasy on my overlay. And he's going to be playing against Zero. Excellent choice. We have an epic game to start off the day, and this is Brood War, so I know for a fact that both of these guys are mega Gosus here. Fantasy versus Zero. Yum. Oh man, this game alone has made waking up at 6 a.m. this morning completely worth it. Alright, to be fair, it was 6:30, but you know, I'm just gonna say 6 a.m. Makes my life sound a little bit more tragic. So I have to wake up at 6 a.m. to watch Fantasy vs. Zero. Anyway. Oh yeah, the overlay thing. I keep forgetting this thing because like it's covered up by my stream chat. Now I'm casting in wide screen, so I have less monitor real estate. It's terrible. It's tragic. Anyway, so we're doing the standard commentator spiel. I don't even know why they bothered giving us the camera shot of the Korean commentators if like the lady commentator isn't here. At least when the lady commentator is here, it's like, oh nice, we have something nice to look at. But then, but right now I'm just like, okay, let's see the game, dude. Man, that sounded pretty misogynistic. Anyway, somebody said, how good is Zero? How good is Zero? Zero is my #1 favorite Zerg player of all time. Of all time. Because he likes to use queens. And queens in Brood War are not like queens in StarCraft 2. Alright, so you StarCraft 2 players might be like, oh, he uses queens. Everybody uses queens. No! No, in Brood War they don't. In fact, in Brood War, queens used to be considered a terrible unit that you only make to BM your opponent, but Zero was like, no, let me actually use these in a legitimate fashion, and that's exactly what he did. That's right. He took a unit that was basically useless and he turned it into something that's become quite common nowadays in like in late game ZVT. When the turn's going mech, you go mass queen to broodling the siege tanks. It is supremely awesome. Broodlings, by the way, also you can't just make broodlords and have them in Brood War. They're actually a spell. They cost energy. It's quite sad. Anyway, Zero's gonna be the red Zerg here at the top left. Fantasy will be the yellow Terran at the top right. The map is Sniper Ridge. Let me just double check my overlay that everything is good. Hopefully, video audio is all fine. I really should start checking these before the games actually start, but you know what? You know what? It's much more fun to be impromptu, to not prepare for anything. You know, it's kind of like the strategy I use for high school. You know, just don't actually prepare for anything. Just go to class, show up to the test, be like, yo, what's this test on? Let me just fill in some multiple choice answers and hope that I get more than 25% right or whatever, depending on how many choices there are. Yeah, good. So, looks like little Gosu Depot going down for Fantasy. What that does is it makes the SCVs pop out a little bit closer to the mineral patch, of course, because in Brood War, all units spawn at the bottom left of whatever unit they're, whatever building they're built in, except for I guess Zerg, because it's just where the larva is. But yeah, so those SCVs would have popped out on the left side of the command center, which would have been farther away from the minerals. But if you build a depot there, they will pop out on the right side, and then you can make them mine like half a second faster. But of course, since these are pro gamers, they must optimize their play in every way imaginable. And you know what? I like that. I like these little things. Anyway, it is a 12 patch from Zero very standard. Also going for the cross map drone scout. That is what we've been seeing recently. Oh my God! Hide my face! Hide my face! You're stealing my soul! Quick, take a peek. Oh no, it's still there. Okay. Okay, are we fine? Anyway, I think it's gonna be a 1 Rax expand from Fantasy. And since it is a 12 patch from Zero, he can safely just build that at his natural. Now, the scouting workers cross paths here, and the second scouting SCV actually sees the Overlord. So, I don't know if he's just going to assume that this is a 12 patch, just judging from that drone scout timing. Because when you go for a 12 patch, you send the second drone out at the same time. So, Fantasy, now he knows the spawning location, he knows the timing of the drone scout. Is he going to assume it is a 12 patch? Well, now he's going to see it. But I was hoping he'd just like kind of figure it out and just make a command center. But anyway, that's what he's gonna do anyway. I guess he didn't have enough minerals anyway. It's like gonna start poking this Overlord. The Overlord's barely gonna make it over here. Now, ooh, I actually should have commented on this Overlord scouting pattern. Oh, so we're gonna be a lag. Notice how the Overlord actually went to the further away natural rather than the close natural. A lot of times, oftentimes the Zerg will send the Overlord to the natural that's facing them in terms of spawn locations, but in this case, Zero sent it away to the further away one, and that's actually a very good idea in ZBT, because obviously, Marines are the only, like, basic unit that shoot air, right? Zerglings themselves don't shoot air. So when you're scouting with Overlords against Terran, you gotta be a little bit careful not to get your initial Overlord picked off by those Marines. And the thing is, it's obviously slightly more risky to travel to the further natural, because your Overlord's floating over middle ground more, but generally it is safe, as you can see, even, going to the 1-Rax expand, it is safe to do that with the Overlord, and then you can safely send your second Overlord to the closer natural and also be safe, because then it'll be a shorter distance, so even though you're sending it later, you're still likely to get it over there in time. Yeah, it's good stuff. Anyway, it is a 3-hatch build from Zero, very, very standard macro play. And Fantasy getting a fast engineering base, so he's going to go for a fast +1 upgrade on his Medic Marine and get 4 or 5 barracks and do some nice mid-game pressure. Oh, looks like we're lagging. Buffer, come on, buffer. Alright, sweet. So, somebody in the chat asks, how many harvesters does it take to saturate a base in Brood War? Roughly 2.5 per patch. It's similar to StarCraft 2. It's not as exact though. It's not like 2 on the close patches, 3 on the far patches, because the workers are a little bit dumber. They just freak out all over the place, and it's roughly 2.5 per patch, unless you're Zerg, in which case you don't really need more than like 1.5 per patch on all your bases, because you can have more bases anyway. So yeah. Anyway, Lair's on the way. It's most likely going to be 3-Edge Muta, but I have seen Zero do some crazy lurker builds. Of course, those are pretty much the only 2 options here. And that SCV gets sniped. I do see a red dot moving towards the bottom left. Presumably that's a drone, in which case it's almost certainly 3-Edge Muta. Yep, there's the Spire. Perfect timing. Look at that go-sooness. Academy's also blinking away there, so he's getting +1 attack upgrade, as well as stim and marine range. Actually, now that I think about it, why did they get rid of marine range in SC2? I guess that would have made them even more imbalanced. Could you guys imagine? Oh man, could you imagine all the QQ about Marines if they had a range upgrade? I mean, people already complain about them all the time. Oh man, Blizzard should just like troll everybody and put Marine range on a patch. Oh, that would be glorious. Anyway, I love seeing angry nerds. I don't know why. I guess they're like wild animals, like you go to the zoo to look at all these animals and to watch the monkeys throwing poop at people. And I think it's very similar when you go on Team Liquid and you look at all the angry nerds posting about random things. It's just good fun. Anyway, so Zero is taking the bottom left main as his third. That's very standard in ZVT. You take a faraway base, and then your Muta and Lings are much more mobile than the Medic Marine. And another important fact, of course, is that you can just put 2 or 3 lurkers at the top of the ramp, and it's basically impossible for the Terran to run up that ramp with his bioforces, because the lurkers will just kill everything. I think the commentator is showing us that the back minerals there are pressed very close against that cliff. That is a modification that was made to this map from Season 1. That's why this is Neo Sniper Ridge. In the old version of this map, those minerals were actually placed against the edge of the map rather than against the cliff, so it's much more difficult to harass there. But now it's a lot more of a fighting spirit-esque setup. Architecture. Geography? I think geography is kind of right. Geology? I don't know, friggin' English. Anyway, Mew's coming back, running past here. Now, here's the thing. Going for a 5-Rax +1 build, I think that was 5-Rax, or maybe the 4-Rax. Actually, I didn't count how many barracks there were. I think it's 5. You want to put on a lot of pressure with a big, a relatively big medic marine force at this stage in the game. But hold that thought. Looks like Mutaling going in there trying to pick it off, but it's not enough. Zero decides that it's not actually enough to commit here, and he's going to pull back. I think he was correct in that decision. +1 Marines just shred everything that the Zerg has at this stage. But yeah, here's the thing. Usually when you go for a fast muta build like this, you want to be harassing the Terran base. You want to be picking off SCVs, just running around in the main base, trying to get as many free kills as you can. But in this case, he has to use these Mutalisks to defend. Otherwise, this big Marine force is just going to go kill him. You can see, even though he's kind of buying time in the middle of the map, he still has to put up sunken colonies at the front of his base. So this is very, very nice for Fantasy. It looks like there's actually only 4 barracks in the main. There might be one in the natural, I'm not sure. No, I don't think there is. Okay, never mind. But I mean, 4x is the same idea. So the Hydralisk then is finished. He's most likely getting Lurker upgrade. He's going to need some Lurkers to help him hold this off. Even with very good Muta Micro, it's going to be extremely difficult to take down these +1 attack Marines. They just do so much damage, of course, with their high fire rate. That +1 giving them a huge boost, going from what, 6 base damage to 7? What is that, like 16%? Is it? Ah, math. Anyway, looks like Morling's getting picked off for free here. Now, the first Lurkers are morphing, but this is going to be extremely close timing. I think those will barely finish in time. But, on the other hand, these Mutalisks have done almost no damage. So even if Fantasy can't break the natural here, I think his build has kind of done its work here. It's not really designed to just kill the Zerg outright. It's really just designed to, keep the pressure away from you and on the Zerg. Anyway, it looks like Zero, though, now that he's got his Lurkers out, he feels comfortable finally moving in with the Mutalisks. He will be able to do a little bit of damage, but there are turrets already up, and the science facility is already on the way, so, when that vessel gets out, it'll be the end of the Mutalisks. Look at a few Marines running back here as well. Some Lings chilling at the natural. The Medic Marine Force kind of staying in the middle. I like this. I like the fact that he's keeping the Marines kind of just in between there. Wow, that is an awkward time to get caught by the camera. I actually feel sorry for that girl, because that's just not very nice. Like when you're trying to enjoy your burger and like some guy just points a camera at you. Didn't like they talk about this on State of the Game? Like I don't know, Noni or In Control was just like we like meeting fans and all, but don't like come and harass us while we're eating lunch and like ask for an autograph or something. It's just BM, man. It's BM. Anyway, a decent number of Lurkers are out now for Zero. And, I gotta say, both these players playing fairly well so far, not making any big mistakes, no critical errors that you might expect or that we've seen from some of these games, these players, kind of having to split their practice time. But hold that thought, looks like we're gonna have a big engagement here, and Fantasy's gotta be so careful. It looks like he's doing a decent-ish spread, and Zero actually unburrows and decides to move back. It was a decent concave for Fantasy, not the best angle there for Zero. He kind of had his Lurkers in a line, but in the wrong angle. So, just a light exchange of blows there. And I thought that could have been a huge engagement, and a hive going up for Zero. It's very interesting to note, by the way, that Fantasy is actually showing some pretty good biocontrol here. Fantasy kind of has a reputation of having, bad medic marine control. That's why he oftentimes prefers going mech or some other kind of, fancy Valkyrie or drop play in this matchup. But he's playing a very, very standard TVZ with, a medic marine supported by siege tanks, and he's doing a great job of it. I gotta say, he's gotta be careful though. He's kind of surrounded on all sides by Zerg forces. So when Zero gathers enough stuff, he might just decide to go for it. Oh man, Fantasy is just going for the push here. I'm not sure if this is the correct decision. I mean, he does want to be pushing. I mean, he does want to be putting pressure on the Zerg. It is very standard for the first push timing to be when your first vessel gets out, and you can spot the Lurkers, and you don't have to worry about any crazy whole Lurker shenanigans. But this is very interesting. You see Zero setting up those units at the bottom there, just waiting to get that flank off, sending a couple of Lurkers to intercept reinforcing Marines. He's got to be careful not to lose these Lurkers, and it looks like he might be going in here. No, he's not. Zero kind of poking in, but then not committing. And oh man, the Mutas get irradiated. The Lurkers get taken down. His entire flanking force has been demolished. There are only a couple of Mutas left, and Fantasy now in a great position, but it looks like Zero moving in the front. The tanks were unsieged, but Zero doesn't have nearly enough units now to actually break this. He needs the Defilers to get out. It looks like 1-1 is done for the infantry. Zero desperately needs those Dark Swarms to survive here. Oh my goodness. I mean, Zero was, positioning quite well there. He's trying to set up the flank, but he just didn't really have enough units overall. I gotta say, Fantasy doing a good job not allowing the Zero to get that perfect position. Now he's moving into the natural. He's not gonna let the Defilers get out, even if they do get out now. there won't be enough units underneath. And it looks like a small group of medic marine going down to the bottom left. Looks like a United Canal being set up there. Zero, interestingly, is already just taking his force base anyway at that bottom left natural. He's like, well, the best counter to dying is to just expand. I completely agree with that. I love making nexuses. Anyway, yeah. I mean, so that base is going to get denied by the group going down there. The flies are out now. Consume's probably not done though, so he's going to have to wait for 100 energy. And even then, oh my god, Eraser on the main base, and GG from Zero. Zero has nothing to stop the Eraser. Wow, Fantasy. I thought that game was looking really even there in the mid game, and then suddenly Fantasy's just like, no, actually, I'm just going to go win now. And then he won. And that's all she wrote. Damn, that was a pretty slick game by Fantasy, I gotta say. Zero did not make any serious mistakes there. Oh man, he doesn't look very happy. Oh, it's okay, Zero. We still love you, Zero. Man, that Eraser, by the way, for you StarCraft 2 fans, Irradiate is a wonderful skill that Science Vessels have, where you just cast it on a unit, and that unit does damage to all units around it. So it becomes like a walking, you know, like a walking Psystorm or something. I mean, it's kind of like what you know, when you get irradiated in real life, you know, you're dying, and then everyone around you is dying. It's like the same thing. It's like the same thing. It's like why nuclear waste is dangerous. So yeah, it's a pretty funny trick for Terran to just like, and oh yeah, mech units aren't affected, so they can be irradiated, but they don't take